Don't you wish that if you could go back to your 20s and 30s with some of the things that we've learned today, that you'd come back as an absolute rock star, better life, more success, and more money as well? You'd probably have better friends and your overall life would be much more fulfilled. Well, you know what? I've got 21 items that I've been thinking about over the course of the last few decades, and I want to share some of those with you that I wish I could have, in fact, known about many years ago. Well, first one is take ownership. There's so many times when people say, oh, it wasn't me, I didn't do it, he did it, she did it. Why do people always want to lay blame? Laying blame means that you're never going to learn from yourself. You're always going to be in a failure mode. You're never going to be in a position of where you can possibly make yourself better, realizing your mistakes, your shortcomings. Because as soon as you figure out, in fact, you're not perfect, none of us are perfect, we're all infallible in some way, the sooner that we figure that out, instead of having this big arrogance about it, going out there with that information, how can I fix this? How can I make myself better? The sooner you figure that out, the sooner you can transition that into a place of learning and making yourself much, much better. The next one is stop caring what other people think. I knew many years ago a friend of mine that we used to work on the road a lot, and they had these breakfasts at the hotel. They were continental. They basically gave you eggs, yogurt, and a few little fruits and vegetables. But this individual would save his living out allowance. He would absolutely pocket not just those goods for the continental breakfast, but he would actually use them as well for his lunch and dinner, and he was saving a pile of money. Well, if he cared what people thought, then he wouldn't have got to a position where he was making those sacrifices. He was driving a cheaper car. He was eating when there's opportunities to gain some free food. And he, in fact, was able to pay off his house in much due time, where people are still trying to pay off their mortgage payments, 20, 30 years after they take it out. This guy, unfortunately, for those other people who were thinking that they were making the right choices, saw that this individual actually was able to pay down his mortgage and be vastly more successful in a much, much shorter period of time. So the sooner you care less about what other people think, the sooner you will find the road to success, and the sooner you might even just be better, faster, stronger, maybe even retire sooner. It's all a win. The next one is teach others how to treat you. If you're not teaching others, and if they're pushing your buttons, they're lowering your expectations, they're saying something to you that seems inappropriate or seems disrespectful, don't put up with that. Set that standard. Let them know where that line is, because if you allow that line to be pushed around, it blurs it, and people will continue to step on you. You'll lack success, you'll lack respect for yourself, as well as others lacking respect for you, and you'll end up in a world of just mediocrity. Don't let others push you around. Don't let them mistreat you, and set those standards, set that limit, set that bar where you're not okay with what they just said. The next one is taking care of your body. Think of it this way. It's a high performance machine, a Formula One car. If you don't do the tires, the brakes, if you don't treat the engine, if you don't preheat the engine, if you don't take care of it, put the right fuel, the right octane, the right oil, that engine's going to blow up and you won't finish the race. Well, our bodies are a lot like that. It's a finely crafted machine. Although it's built of flesh and bone, the bottom line is if you mistreat the use of your body, in other words, pumping in garbage food, high fat content, poor quality foods, you're going to get out what you put in. So take care of your body, and it will last long enough to get to the finish line. The last thing you don't want to do is mistreat it, run it hard, put it away wet, and you never make it anywhere near the finish line. Nobody wants that. Enjoy life, a long life, and definitely want to make it to retirement if you can. So another one is treat others how you want to be treated. I mean, the bottom line is, if you're going to spit on somebody, the next one is treat others how you want to be treated. Why would you possibly want to be kicked around, sworn at, or mistreated in a way that shows a lack of respect for you? Well, conversely, don't treat others like that. If you want to get that type of treatment, know that in fact, if you're always positive, upbeat, happy, joyous, treat people with respect, active listening, and treat them in a way that you would personally want to be treated, then that's the way it should all be done. If everybody treated each other with the due respect and treatment, then we wouldn't be in a world that we're in today. So if everybody did their part, this world would absolutely be amazing. The next message is never take the easy road. Go hard when things seem easy. See, that's the easy message. Everybody comes home, they do their 9 to 5, they turn the lights off, they grab a drink, sit down, watch the football game at the end of a day, and then they call it a good. But that's the easy road. You predictable, simple, easy road. When things start getting too easy like that, it's time for a wake-up call. It's time to start shaking it up. What can I do better? How can I find more success? How do I push myself? Because clearly I'm not challenged. And it's that lack of challenge that is numbing the senses for the fight or flight now that a lot of people just generally don't have. So get yourself back into a position where you're challenging yourself. Take the challenging road. Instead of taking this nicely paved sidewalk right here, maybe walk through there and find the challenging way to get there, because that builds character, stamina, and always will be a more successful person as a result. The next one is be humble. Don't think any less of yourself. Just don't focus on you and all your needs and your expectations and wants. You always have to keep those goals in mind and focused, but don't constantly think and dwell about how good you are, how much successful you are. There are times for celebration, but the bottom line is don't hold that to a higher standard. Don't be humble yourself. Absolutely know where you came from, know your roots, and be a true focused person who not just cares about yourself, but cares about those around you, particularly your family and friends. The next one is isolate yourself from toxic people. There's nothing worse than meeting people that say one thing, do something different. They talk out of the side of their mouth, a man with a paper ass. These people that clearly don't have it all going on, they lack integrity, they lack respect, and quite often, if they're rumoring and they're talking all kinds of smack to you about somebody else, chances are they're probably going to talk about you as well when you're outside of the room. The bottom line is toxic people often don't have great intentions, definitely have lots of ill intentions, and definitely are the people you want to get out of your life as soon as physically possible. There's very little quality in those types of individuals, and the best thing is just rid your life of all of that toxicity. The next one is rid yourself of vices. We all like to have a good time. We all like to party. We all like to head down to Vegas and do some gambling and drinking and see some shows. And obviously, a lot of people just like to indulge in some of the things that you wouldn't normally do on a day-to-day, and you certainly wouldn't brag about to your boss at your work. So in this case, if it doesn't feel right to general population, there's a good chance it is probably not necessarily the best thing. And again, it doesn't mean we don't live. Just things like gambling, it puts you in a state of mind that you definitely don't have the right intentions, and you're probably going to spend way more money than you can ever possibly imagine. Drinking, we know it's not good for, it changes a person's personality and often isn't good for your health. And so drinking, smoking, we could go on about vices, and vices can become in many shapes and sizes, but the toxic vices that are clearly not having a good impact on your health and your well-being or your finances are definitely vices you want to toss to the curb. Another one, it's never too late to change. Old dog, new tricks. Have you ever heard that? I've heard it many times. You know what? I'm in my 50s, and if I ever thought, okay, I can't change, I can't do this, this whole YouTube game, which is a side hustle of mine, which I've done, it started out for fun, and it happened to be monetized. I'm able to make a little bit of cash out of it. The bottom line is, if I assumed the role of old guy or, Gen X, or what a lot of people expect of me, being the old guy, and I can't learn new tricks, well, then I wouldn't be in a place where I'm at today. And you know what? We can all change. We can all make improvements, not just on our finances, not just in our careers, but certainly in our health and well-being, and always be in a position where you think about, wait a minute, that's not perfect. I can make it better. Let's do that. Another one is always assume positive intent. How many times you've been driving in traffic, somebody cut you off, whoa, you had to lock them up and you got freaked out. And then you started swearing, getting mad. You might even start chasing them around thinking, oh, what am I going to do about that? Never do that. Number one, things like road rage or taking your frustrations out on people often can lead to an incident that you just don't want any part of, and then you'll regret it later in life. But the other thing is you're wasting all that energy getting all fired up and worked up. Maybe that person was rushing somebody to a hospital. Maybe they had something going on. Maybe themselves were in an emergency. I've met so many people that had accidents at work and they were rushing and doing everything in their power to dodge and weave through traffic. If you don't know necessarily what some of these people are dealing with, maybe just assume that there is something real going on, because in most cases, nobody wants to be racing around, putting themselves and everybody else at risk. That's rarely the case. So usually assume the best. Most people have good intentions. Level up. The next one is level up without feeling guilt. I don't know how many times where, I've been pushing myself to find more success in my careers, in my side hustles, and everything else I do. I always, whether I work out hard. If I'm working, I work hard. I always try to get it done I look at work as something that just has to be done. It's part of the process, and always try to find better ways and more efficient ways to do it. But in finding that success, often people are trying to guilt you into a position now. All of a sudden, you have something they don't. All of a sudden, you've pushed yourself, you've pushed the envelope, and you found some success, or even a sliver of it. A lot of these people now start to recognize that and see that they don't have that level of success because they didn't put in the effort. And now they're looking at it, I'm going to take you down a notch or two. I'm going to cut you down at the knees, and we're going to fix this because we all belong in the same spot. How dare you have success that I don't? And unfortunately, let that be okay. Walk away, ignore it, and don't ignite the situation, because at the end of the day, you've worked for it, you've earned it, it's yours. The next one, it's truly okay to be misunderstood. How many times where I was doing my side hustle, I'm working through it, and even people glaze over. They ask me a question about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and how it all works, and then they just glaze over it and they sort of vaporize. It's okay. It's not to be, it's not something to look down upon. A lot of people just don't understand what it takes to actually find levels of success. It might mean you're grinding out long hours, you're burning the midnight oil. It might mean you're taking on certain different tasks and ideas and things that a lot of these people don't understand. I know my parents did not totally understand what I was doing. They get it at a high level, but when you start talking about it in depth because they ask, then they start to gloss over. And that's just the reality. It's okay that people don't understand it. It's not an issue. It's just they don't know always what it takes to find that type of success and the kind of commitment it takes to get to that type of success. And unfortunately, this look doesn't mean that it's a place they're coming from a bad place. It just means that they may not just understand because they aren't in the same place, in the same headspace, in the same body, and definitely in the same focus. Very few people are as focused as people that are very driven to find that level of success. It's a very small sliver of people in population that are willing to do what it takes to find that level. Another one that I found out recently, and I've been finding more and more, don't get used to being used. I mean, there's so many people out there that just always have an expectation. They're going to try to use you, pull what they can from you, and they want to actually take things from you. They have these expectations. I want this, I want that. And they think that if they can massage your attitude, massage your feelings and your guilt mechanism, if they can massage all of that, then they can probably get you on board to do things for them. Well, guess what? I've been learning in a few cases here recently where people, as soon as you turn off that tap of giving things that you start to realize all they do is take. And I've got a few people like that in my life that I've learned in recent days where they just take. And it just coincidentally, when you really start running the numbers and when you need something from them, they never are available. They always make it difficult, awkward, put up all kinds of fronts, noise. And it realistically, they say they're going to help you, but they never really do. And ultimately, you just find yourself giving because we carry a higher level of integrity than these folks do. So don't be used to just getting used. Get these toxic people out of your life. The next one is no is the biggest word in the vocabulary. That's right. You don't have to even say much. People want things from you. They want to challenge you, or they want to promote something that maybe you don't agree with. It's okay to say no. No doesn't not mean that you have to go on and ramble and justify. I think what you need to do is figure out that it's okay just to say no. And I'm not okay with that. I don't agree with it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do something different. It speaks volumes. See, because the worst thing you can do is say no. Well, as soon as you do that, you waffle and then you're negotiable. When you say no, mean no. But think about it. If somebody says, you know what, you want to jump off a high-level bridge? You say, no, I don't. It doesn't make sense. So realistically, when you mean no, mean it and stand your ground. You don't have to add a bunch of extra text or vocabulary or caveats or conditions. Just say no. Another one I've got is don't dim your light for other people. I don't know how many times, where I've been starting to find a little bit of success, I'll be honest. And I know a lot of people, those percentage of population that actually do, and they find success because they've been very driven for years, and that usually takes years to find some success. But once you do, you sort of start to shine and your light is bright. Don't let others dim your light. I also had people say, all of a sudden, all you do is chase money. That's all you care about. That's all you matters to you. What about this? That's usually somebody very similar, like I just mentioned, people that want to try to take you down a notch, try to dim your light. Enjoy it. lather in it. Again, be humble, not necessarily too proud, but know what you've done, know the effort it's taken, and it's time to celebrate. And don't let somebody dim your light. You've put in the effort, you've done the work. The heck with the naysayers. Naysayers are another one you can stack on the list of toxic people. Another one that a lot of people lack, unfortunately, in their 20s and 30s is lacking true life goals. People get in life, they get a job, they buy a car, a house, maybe get married, and they think, that's their goal. Is that your goal? There's ultimately got to be a goal of some sort. All of these are potential small challenges and hurdles, and in some cases, small wins and things, like getting married is often a huge win for many people. Buying your first house is often a huge win. But are those ultimate goals? And maybe they are. But find a goal, focus on it, and often stretching your goals. I like to call them stretch goals because keeping things simple and easy is good. You need a lot of simple goals to build up your support. You need a lot of simple goals to build up that confidence. So it's nothing wrong with having some small, simple goals, but also add some big stretch goals that are much more attainable, more complex, goals that are going to push you outside of your comfort zone and your comfort envelope. Get yourself into a position where you're really challenging yourself and have those goals, keep them focused, maybe even make a note in a scrapbook, keep it on your cell phone in the notes department, but basically set yourself a very tough goal that is going to keep you pushing and grinding for years. Not a simple one that you can turn over in an afternoon. Get it, build it, and develop it, and absolutely follow through on those goals. Another one is look for the big problems. Don't look for the little problems. See, if you're searching, it's almost like looking for issues and finding the high road. Sometimes that's not the easy way. So looking for big problems, I'm not saying troubles. Don't go looking for trouble. Look for problems. Look for the problem, big problems, and solve them. Maybe you got a big issue, maybe a construction job you're on. Find the big issues, knock them off first, destroy them, and quite often the collateral result will mean many other smaller problems get resolved in the sort. So often look for the big challenges. It pushes you outside of your space as well, makes you a better person, stronger, a better problem solver, and usually you find more success when you're tackling the big challenges. Get them behind you. Another one is dedicate time to self-improvement or improvement in general. Don't think, okay, I'm just going to improve, I can make little marginal improvements. Think big improvements that are going to have a major impact on your life, whether it's financial and you want to set a big goal that's going to take a long time to achieve. Again, setting those big goals, dedicate that time, focus that time for at least 10 years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years is often the time you need to dedicate and focus to make yourself better. Think about even bodybuilders. Arnold, he didn't build his body and physique in 2 years. It took him years of strong development, training. It takes years, whether you want to improve on fitness, health, bodybuilding, or even just to build a business. Expect to commit at least 5, 10, 15, 20 years before you see the major results. Once it happens, it's almost like this big aha moment. The drapes pull back and there you go. Another thing I wish I knew back in the day was spend more time asking and a lot less time telling. Don't tell people what's going on. Maybe ask them what they think about this. Ask them what they think about that. Somebody comes to you with a question. They need a solution. Say you're a supervisor, a manager, the boss, so to speak, and somebody comes to you with a question. Well, instead of coming up with the answer, turn it around and ask them the question in return. What would you do? How would you do this? What do you think the best course of action is? Ask them the questions. Do more asking. You'll learn more about people and you'll get people to open up. Often people will work in your favor. You'll become more of an advocate, and quite frankly, people become much more engaged in their work, support, whether they're working for you, with you, or whatever it is. Ask people, care, show empathy. That's really what it's about. Empathy, listening, and not necessarily always talking. Zip your lip for a while, do more asking, and actively listen to other people. Another one that I've got here is basically don't brag about your big moves. Say you've got a big thing planned. Maybe you're at a bunch of coworkers. People do not like to see others succeed where they're not succeeding. So if you start bragging about all these big things you're doing, big moves, you're going to start a new business, you're going to buy a fancy car, oh, I'm buying this big house. Don't brag about those things because people want to take you down a notch. People want to, in most cases, sadly, other than maybe your parents, your dad always wants you to succeed. Your mother generally wants you to succeed. Outside of those people, most people would rather see you down wallowing in the same amount of pity that they are. So at the end of the day, don't brag about these things. It does two things. Number one, it gets people in a state of mind of resentment. Often they start to resent you, and then you become the unpopular fish. You want to become that person that everybody likes, not necessarily because you don't want toxic people in your life, but at the end of the day, bragging does nothing, serves you not well at all. People are definitely not going to wish the best for you, even though they might say it to your face. Quite often, they generally don't. A lot of times, people even try to booby trap you and try to turn upside down your plans. So realistically, you never want to share your big plans, your big moves. A lot of times, people just try to pull the rug out from under you, and they have very little good intentions to actually help you along the way. So definitely don't share your big plays, your big moves. Small talk, sure, and get rid of toxic people in the first place, and there's even a lower risk of this happening. Anyway, with all of that said, I hope that helps everybody. Definitely check that out video right there and there. You're going to love those. That's, my usual walk and talk. I'd love to hear what you think. Anyway, hope to see each and every one of you. You all have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.